Came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me, so I left without saying a word. Now she's desperately trying to find me, but I blocked her everywhere. I'm a 38-year-old guy, and I just found out my girlfriend, who's 36, cheated on me after being together for 5 years. And I found out in the worst way possible. Just some background on me: I've never been married and I don't have any kids. It's not that I'm against it, life just hasn't worked out that way for me yet, I suppose. Anyway, let me get to the story. On Friday after work, I headed out for a weekend trip with the guys to one of my buddy's cabins on the lake. Nothing too wild, just fishing, drinking, playing games. You know, good all fun. We usually do these trips every 3 months or so to get some time to ourselves and give our significant others a break from us. I typically stay the whole weekend and then head straight to work from there on Monday morning. But this time I left my laptop in the office room and forgot to grab it. So around 4 p.m. I started driving back home. I figured I'd get there by 6 and Rachel wouldn't be home from work yet. So I called in an order at our favorite Italian place, picked it up, and made my way to the house. When I walked in, everything seemed normal at first. I could hear Rachel laughing in the kitchen, so I thought I'd just walk in and surprise her. As I got closer, I started to overhear the conversation she was having on the phone, and in an instant my life was shattered. I assumed she was talking to her sister or maybe one of her friends, but the conversation went like this. "Last night was just amazing. He was such a considerate lover. Pause. I'm telling you, I've never had anything like it. Pause. We met on Tinder and he took me out last night." By the time we made it through the door, we barely made it to the sofa. Pause. "Oh God, big, like twice as big as inserts my name. Pause. I'll definitely be taking him for a test drive again." After that line, I just dropped the food on the floor. Rachel heard it and turned around. By that time, I already had tears welling up in my eyes. She hung up the phone and tried to get to me, but I just pushed her away, went up to the office, grabbed my laptop, and left. Rachel's been blowing up my phone with texts and calls for the past 4 days, and I haven't answered a single one. I'm holed up in a motel a couple of towns over, so I doubt she'll be able to track me down. My buddies and mom have called because Rachel's been freaking out trying to find me, but I've told everyone I'm okay and there's nothing to worry about. My life's been turned upside down by a stupid phone call. I really thought Rachel was the one I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Being an only child, my mom keeps reminding me she wants grandkids. I had planned on proposing this year on the 4th of July, as it would be our 6-year anniversary. I've already got the ring, and my buddy and his wife know about the plan, since they're the ones who set us up and always host the 4th cookouts. Any advice from you guys would be appreciated. This is the first time I've had to deal with cheating in any relationship. I'm really just shattered at this point. Should I reach out to Rachel? Should I give her a chance to explain? After that phone call, just thinking about her makes me feel sick. Thanks in advance to anyone who reaches out. Comments. Traditional band 723. She was bragging about cheating on you. You'll never forget what you heard. It's time to move on. Boston Dana 2. To add to this, she showed you who she really is. Be thankful you found out now and not after years of marriage. Bushy Boy 1973. You've already heard everything you need from her. Don't look back. Best case scenario, have your friends pick up your stuff and never talk to her again. The only closure needed here is from her side. Never give her the chance to apologize, don't talk to her friends, and if your mutuals try to pass along a message from her, ghost them too. Make a post on social media explaining what happened and tag her. My name is not Chuck 509. Yes, do this. Since you're a nice guy who probably can't imagine doing this to her, you'll want to try and understand and fix things. You'll try to be a pick-me. Make it loud and public so you can't go back. You dodged a bullet. Trust me. I found out this past year that half my life is a lie after 27 years together with 3 kids, and my WW cheated on me multiple times over those years. I had an opportunity to leave her the first year we dated when I found out she probably cheated on me. But I tried to understand and fix things. Don't be me. Update 1. Hello everyone. First off, I want to thank everyone for their kind words. I've had a really tough week, and even though I didn't feel up to replying to anyone's posts, I want you all to know that I read them, and your words helped me get through the week. This has been a devastating event for me and every one of you that commented or reached out through chat made my day just a tiny bit brighter. With that said, here's the most recent update. Last Friday night, after my buddies got to the hotel, I told them what I had heard on the phone call. All 3 of them were stunned, to say the least. They asked if I had seen any signs of this, and to be honest, I really hadn't. I said I didn't know what I was going to do. I told my one buddy that the proposal was off, and given the circumstances, he totally got it. One thing I had my buddies do when they left their houses was turn off tracking, in case their significant others were checking and getting back to Rachel. I know Rachel isn't close with one of the wives, but at this point, I didn't want to take any chances. That night, we hung out at the hotel bar and I went into a pretty bad tailspin. Shot after shot after shot. It was rough. My buddies were getting calls all night from their significant others asking where they were. And to their credit, they stood their ground and backed me up, just saying that we were safe and not to worry. When asked to talk to me after assuming they knew where I was, but I didn't feel like chatting with her. She kept going on about how Rachel was worried and just wanted me to come back home. I just told my buddy to handle it and I'd explain everything later. I spent most of the night flirting with the bartender, which I'm not exactly proud of, and a couple of girls who were in town for work. The next day, I thanked them all for hanging out with me, and they headed back home. This week, I had one of my buddies check out the house we were renting since it was on his way to work, and he gets there after Rachel, and I would have already left. Rachel had taken Monday and Tuesday off, but went back to work on Wednesday. As soon as he told me this, I went to the house and started packing up as much stuff as I could. The place was a total mess. Dishes piled up in the sink, clothes scattered everywhere, trash overflowing with takeout and ordered food. It took me about 3.5 hours to get all my junk out. Before I left, I cleaned up a bit for Rachel as a last gesture. That afternoon and evening, I got bombarded by Rachel with calls and texts after she figured out that I had come home and taken all my stuff. So for now, I'm crashing at my mom's place until I can find my own spot this fall. I talked to the landlord, and without Rachel's signature, he won't take me off the lease, which means I'll have to cover my half until October. My mom said I could stay with her until then, and at that point, I'll try to find a new place. I know, a 38-year-old moving back in with his mom. Life's been so great to me. I finally reached out to Rachel on Thursday and told her we could meet up at a local bar and grill downtown Friday evening. I told her one of my buddies would be there to make sure everything stayed cool. She was going on for a few minutes saying she wanted me to come home and talk with her so we could get over this, but I told her if she wanted to see me, it was going to be on my terms. Eventually, she caved. So Friday night, Rachel shows up after my buddy and I had been there for about an hour. I had already eaten and taken a couple shots of Ciroc to calm my nerves. We sat down and she tried to make small talk, asking about me and all that nonsense. I shut that down quick. I told her I had a list of questions. Right away, her eyes filled up with tears. I asked her how long this had been going on. She swore this was the first and only time. I told her to cut the crap. I said there was no way we were ever getting back together, so just tell me the truth so I can have my closure and move on with my life. She stuck to her story for a few minutes, but then, like you probably guessed, she spilled the beans. Every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. This really set me off. I told her she was using this as a damn excuse just to sleep around. I then asked who she was talking on the phone with, but she refused to give me an answer for this. I asked if they used condoms, and she said sometimes. I said she's lucky I got an STD test, 'cause I'm clean, so she doesn't have to worry about getting one unless her most recent guy didn't use one. Finally, before I left, I told her about my plans. July 4th proposal, I showed her the ring and told her that I was gonna propose at our friend's party because that was where they introduced us. It was around here that she just started bawling. She begged for another chance. I told her that I will always love her, but we are done. So yeah, she's been messaging me all day, but I'm going to block her pretty soon. So I'm just sitting here eating some B-dubs and drinking beer while watching the fights. Hopefully, Poi wins, but I'm not holding my breath. Man, my life is a total mess. Anyway, thanks guys for listening. I'm not sure if I'll update again, as I doubt I'll ever talk to that See You Next Tuesday again. Comments, see Falcon6063. I knew she was going to say it was only once. They always do that, dummies. Every time I went on those trips for the past 2 years, she thought I was going to cheat on her, so she was having her fun too. Blame shifting. Classic cheater move. It's your fault, op, no way. I'm sorry your landlord didn't let you out of the lease. But at least you have your mom. It's not ideal, but it's only temporary. 100% her loss. Too bad she was about to become someone's wife. A good man chose her, wanted her, and she threw it all away for fun. It's time to focus on you and your healing. Go easy on the alcohol. Be careful. You're going to be okay. Fly Ganesque. Up, I'm glad that you're a clean and sad that she was such a puss and used as justification that she thought you were gonna cheat on her on those trips. It's also sad that she didn't want to tell who she was talking to, but I bet it must be someone from the inner circle of friends and most possibly one of the wives of your buddies. She didn't want to give her up because that could cause trouble with a male friend for supporting a cheater, and might as well she was doing that too. So warn your buddies of these possibilities. Now about her reaction and manner at the restaurant. She showed no remorse at all, and even tried trickle truth. Because if she had any remorse for what she did, she would have broken down before the ring thing. She came to her senses about her stupidity when you showed her that ring and talked about the proposal. Well, now it is time for you to leave alcohol behind and start your healing journey. Hope everything goes well, and please, if you come to find out who was on the other end of that call, update us. Update 2, hey there fellow Redditors. I just want to thank each of you for the kind words. It means a lot to me. So a few things went down yesterday, and I thought I'd give you the rundown. It's not super thrilling, but here goes. Rachel's out of the 4th cookout invite list, so I'm off the hook and don't have to worry about running into her. Remember in my last post when I mentioned one of the wives trying to chat me up at the bar? Yeah, she's the one throwing the 4th cookout. Turns out Rachel spun her a tale that she only cheated once and it was a huge mistake, and that's why she wanted me to hash things out with her. When I talked to her on Tuesday, I laid out the whole truth. She called Rachel right away, who admitted it was all true, got super pissed, and started yelling. She told Rachel it'd be better if she didn't come to the event on the 4th because I'd be there, and honestly, what she did to me was just vile and disgusting. Then she asked me to forgive her and said she had no clue. I told her it wasn't her fault and she had nothing to apologize for. We were both duped by someone we cared about. As for who was on the phone with her, I'm guessing it was her sister. The 2 wives who are friends with her swear they had no idea Rachel was pulling this crap. Apparently, on those Saturday nights when we were out, they'd hang out at my place until around 11 p.m., just chatting about typical girl stuff and sipping wine. Even the one who isn't really her friend but was part of these hangouts confirmed it. The other reason I think it was her sister is I've tried reaching out to her 3 times now, and I've gotten zilch. No texts, no calls, nothing. Her mom called and said she's upset about the breakup and asked if there's anything they can do to change my mind, but I told her that ship has sailed. I went back to work on Monday after taking the week off, so I'm back to my usual routine now. No more booze for me anytime soon. My liver's gonna thank me for that. This community has been a huge help, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to each and every one of you for everything. Not sure if I'll be updating this account again, seems like this chapter's closing. Oh, and Rachel, she's blocked on all platforms now, so she can't reach out to me anymore. The cookout host mentioned she's not doing too well right now, which she told me before I explained my side of things, but hey, that's life. I'm not doing great either, but I'm moving forward and leaving all this behind me. Thanks again, community. Y'all are the best. Now on to the next story, story 2. I busted my butt working for my wife, taking care of our kid and handling all the chores while she rolled in late every night. So I decided to follow her and discovered she's cheating on me. My wife and I tied the knot 4 years ago. We first met at a football stadium. I was there with some buddies to cheer on our team, and she was there with her family. During the game, she was trying to snap a picture, and since I was sitting just a row behind her, I ended up in her shot. I didn't even think about if I was photobombing, I just smiled as she took the photos. Well, I'll tell you, we hit it off because she was so sweet and friendly, and after seeing me grinning like a fool in her pictures, she asked if she could send them to me. It was funny because I figured she'd be ticked that I messed up her shots. But nope, we ended up becoming friends. After that, we swapped numbers and started following each other on Facebook. We didn't talk for a bit after the day we met. Then she messaged me on Facebook and we started chatting again. It began with random stuff and slowly we got into more personal talks. I really liked her vibe. She was full of energy and always a blast to talk to, whether on the phone or texting. So after weeks of getting to know each other, I asked her out on a date, and she said yes. Our first date went so smoothly, and it led to more dates, which then turned into a relationship. I fell head over heels for her, and she made me feel like a kid again. I was totally heartbroken from my last relationship and was scared to fall in love again. That's why I threw myself into work and tried to keep any woman at arm's length, but with my wife, things were different. She made me feel safe and secure, and I loved her to bits. I felt at peace with her, and eventually we tied the knot. My wife always wanted a kid, so we had one in the first year of our marriage. She was already 2 months pregnant before we got married, and even though I wasn't ready for a kid so soon, I went along with it because she was so thrilled about it. When our daughter arrived, I was over the moon, and I loved how she brightened up my world. Her being here motivated me to work harder and be a better dad and husband. As my daughter got older, she hung out with me more because I worked from home and had plenty of time to take her to daycare and pick her up. My wife was a nurse, so the only time she got to spend with our daughter was on her days off or when she was home. Since I was the one at home most of the time, I took care of the house, did the cleaning, laundry, and on some days I'd cook. I did all this because I wanted to make life easier for my wife, and I liked a tidy house. I also knew she was beat every time she came home, and the idea of her cleaning the house, going grocery shopping, and cooking with the little time she had to rest was out of the question, so I did everything I could to make things easier for us. We kept this up for the first 3 years of our marriage and were both happy. We hardly ever had issues except for the usual couple squabbles, which never lasted a day. We were also awesome parents to our daughter and did everything we could to raise her right. Everything was great between us until the 4th year of our marriage. It all started with my wife not coming home when she was supposed to. Like, if she worked the afternoon shift and was supposed to be home in the evening with us, she wouldn't show up until the next day and would say she was covering for a sick coworker or decided to pull some overtime. At first, I got her reasons, but it got to a point where I just couldn't handle it anymore. It was turning into a habit, not just an excuse, and it was messing with our relationship. Our daughter started missing her mom, and I had to come up with a bunch of excuses every time for why her mom didn't come home. Plus, when all this started, our intimacy took a nosedive. She wouldn't let me touch her anymore, and every time I tried, she'd either say she was too tired or just not in the mood. This went on for weeks and then months. It got so bad that I started worrying about our marriage, so I signed us up for marriage counseling, but she never showed up to a single session. As time went on, our relationship just kept getting worse, and I ended up talking to a close friend about it. He suggested that my wife might be seeing someone else or was just tired of our marriage, but that didn't make any sense to me. I trusted my wife so much, and the thought of her cheating never even crossed my mind. To show how much I trusted her, I argued with my friend that my wife couldn't cheat, and I believed she was just working so hard so we could give our daughter the kind of future she deserved. I also thought about the possibility of my wife being tired of our marriage, and I tried to talk to her about it. But every time I brought it up, her response was either cold or she sounded totally uninterested. After trying so many times to fix things, the idea that my wife might be seeing someone else finally crossed my mind. By then, in the previous months, there had been a lot of changes with her. Before, she used to hit the grocery store in just basic outfits, but then she started getting all fancy, mixing 2-3 perfumes just to go shopping. I didn't think it was weird because I was always on her case about how she looked when she left the house. She used to look like she was living on the streets, so this was a big step up. I nagged her about it all the time, and I was happy she was finally paying attention. So one day, my wife was hanging out with our daughter in the living room, and I was in the kitchen trying to whip up dinner for us. I remember her phone ringing, and instead of picking it up right there like she usually would, she dashed out of the house, and right away I knew something was up. In our 2 years of dating and over 4 years of marriage, my wife had never stepped outside to take a call, no matter what it was about. Curious, I left what I was doing and followed her. I didn't go outside, but I could hear most of her conversation because she left the door open, and before she came back, I rushed back to the kitchen. After she came back inside, she acted all chill, played with our daughter for a bit, and then asked me about the groceries we needed to restock. I told her what we needed, and she jotted down the list. Once she was done, she said she'd head to the store to grab them since she had nothing else going on. I didn't need a psychic to tell me something was off. Her body language said it all, and I watched her go into our room to shower, change, and put on light makeup just for grocery shopping. We hadn't been connecting like we used to for months, but there she was, all excited and dolled up for a trip to the store. As soon as she left, I asked my neighbor if his oldest daughter could watch our daughter for a few minutes, and he said yes. It was such a relief, and without wasting time, I drove to the grocery store I knew she went to. When I got to the grocery store, I waited a bit, and just as I was about to step out of my car to check if she was really shopping, I saw my wife walking out with a guy from the grocery store. She had her arm around his waist, and his arms were crossed over her shoulder. It was already evening, and the whole store was lit up. I actually saw them through the glass, and before they stepped out of the store, I charged inside, totally pissed off. I was boiling, and to this day, I can't believe I acted that way. My wife was so shocked to see me that she didn't know what to do or say. I didn't confront or talk to her because deep down I knew we were done. Instead, I focused on her affair partner, yelled at him, and made sure I caused a scene. People gathered around to take videos and photos, but I didn't care. I was just so angry. In the end, his manager found out about his affair with my wife, and he got fired. As for my wife, she came home that night to beg and cry, but no matter what she said, I was too disappointed to forgive her. She said she did it because she thought she could get away with it and come back to me, which hurt me even more. That same night, I kicked her out of the house, and she crashed at her friend's place. She had been seeing him for more than 6 months, and I had no idea. The whole time she was telling stories about covering for her friend at work, and blah blah, she was spending the night with him while I was home alone with our daughter. There's no need to ask if we divorced or not because we did. I just couldn't forgive her or forget that she cheated on me while I was trying to be a good husband and father. Thankfully, I won custody of our daughter, mainly because she was never around in the first place, so it was better she stayed with me. It's been over a year, and I'm still not over the pain and hurt I felt. I was so disappointed, and I still am. Right now, my daughter is my top priority, and I'll do my best to be a good dad and teach her to be faithful to whoever she ends up with.